Hello and welcome to Guiding Bolts. Today we're going to learn how to make Christmas stockings. This tutorial is simple and easy to follow and is an inexpensive way to make custom and fun Christmas stockings to grace your mantle this holiday season. Choosing to sew today's project will make it quicker to complete, but sewing is completely optional. If you don't have a sewing machine or are more comfortable using glue, you can choose to go that method instead. The first thing you need to decide is how big you want your stocking to be. The standard size stocking is the one on the right, and the oversized stocking is the one on the left. You'll get your pattern from our sister website, theniftynerd.com. If you want a standard size stocking, you'll print out the pattern, tape the two sheets together, and then cut out the pattern on the black line. Then when you cut out your fabric size will be the same size as your paper template. You can customize the size of your stocking however much you want. For the one on the left, which I'm calling the oversized stocking, I went up 2 sizes. And by that, when I went to cut out my paper template, I left about a 1/4 inch outline outside of the black line all the way around. And then when I cut out my fabric, I left another 1/4 inch between the edge of the fabric and the edge of the paper. This standard size stocking comfortably holds about 2 DVDs worth of width and depth, while the oversized stocking comfortably fits about 4 DVDs worth of width and depth. Here's another size comparison for you guys. The standard stocking is here on top, and then you can see the oversized stocking below it there. The objects I'm able to fit in the standard size stocking, we have a bag of miniature Kit Kats, we have a small hand drone, a little dinosaur toy, a deck box of Magic the Gathering cards, a chapter book, and then a Star Wars plushie with a little bag of candy attached to it. And those items fit in the standard stocking. It depends on your Tetris skills and how well you can pack things together. But the plushie and book, kind of poke out the top of the stocking there. All of those objects fit very comfortably in the oversized stocking with room for probably maybe 1 or 2 more objects depending upon their size, and again, your packing skills. Once you've decided on a stocking size, head over to theniftynerd.com to print out your paper pattern. There's a link down below in the description you can use. Print your pattern, tape it together, and then cut it out to the size you want. Then we're ready to cut out our fabric. Now you'll see here that I already cut my fabric out here, and I did leave that border of about a 1/4 inch between the edge of the paper and the edge of my fabric for that larger size stocking. You can choose to cut the fabric using scissors. In that case, I would trace around your paper template using a marker or a piece of chalk and then cut 1 layer of fabric at a time. If you're using a rotary tool, you can do both layers of fabric at once. If you're more comfortable, go 1 layer at a time. Remember to have a self-healing cutting mat or something in between your fabric and your cutting surface to protect it. If you're using the rotary cutter, it might help to pin down your paper template to your fabric to keep it in place. Before cutting, I would highly recommend ironing your fabric to make sure that it is flat and wrinkle-free. And when cutting it out, you'll need 2 copies of the stocking. So if you're doing single layers, you're going to want to trace and then flip your paper over and then trace it again, because we want opposite copies of the pattern. When I did my cutting with the rotary tool, I folded my fabric so that I had right sides facing together. So when I finished cutting it out, I had 2 pieces that were mirrors of each other. Once our stocking is cut out, we're ready to sew or glue the 2 pieces together. We want to take both halves, and we're going to have the right side of the fabric, or the side that we want facing outward, to be on the inside touching each other. So you're going to line those 2 pieces up. So then the wrong sides of the fabric are facing outward. Then you can choose to either sew or glue the stocking. You're going to start at one end and just do a basic simple stitch all the way around, stopping up top, leaving the top portion open, of course. If you're gluing, I'll have a link down below in the description for a good fabric glue. What you want to do is lay down a bead of glue about 1/4 inch from the edge. And the trick to gluing fabric is you want to make sure that that glue works itself into the fibers of the fabric, and then you give it enough time to fully harden itself. I would recommend, once you have your glue on, to maybe put a little bit of pressure on the edges. If you have like clips from chip bags, those can be a great way to add a little bit of pressure. Just make sure that you don't have too much glue, that it starts to seep through your fabric and glues your fabric to whatever objects you're using, like the clips, to hold it together. The other fabric we need to cut is the fabric we want to use for the cuff of our stocking and then the loop that we use to hang it up. Now, the size of your stocking does not matter for the loop. The loop will always match what we have listed on the pattern here, a rectangle that's 10 inches by 2.5 inches long. The cuff will always be 6.5 inches tall, but that 15.5 inches measurement will change depending upon the size of the stocking you made. So if you made the standard size stocking, which was cutting along the black line and matching that to your fabric size, you'll go with that 15.5 inch measurement. If you made your stocking bigger or smaller, what you want to do is measure the total top width at the opening of your stocking. You want to double that amount and subtract 1/4 inch. For this stocking here, which is that jumbo size, or the twice bigger size, the top width of our stocking is 9 inches. Doubling that brings us to 18. Subtracting 1/4 inch is 17 3/4 inches. So my cuff measurement piece that I'm going to measure is 17 3/4 inches by 6.5. Once our hanging loop and cuff are cut out, it's time to glue or sew these pieces. So for your hanging loop, you're going to have your piece here and you're going to fold it hot dog or long waist style with the right sides of the fabric touching each other on the inside. And then you're going to glue or sew one short end and the long end opposite of the fold, leaving one short end open. For the cuff, you're going to fold it hamburger style or short end to short end. Again, the right sides of your fabric should be touching each other on the inside, and you're going to sew or glue the side that's opposite of your fold. Once our pieces are glued or sewn together, it's time to prep them for assembly. We have our cuff piece here, the folded edge and the sewn or glued edge, and we're going to fold down the top kind of like we're folding a pair of socks. And what we want to do is we want to meet the top edge to the bottom edge. And then this will have the right side of our fabric facing out. And we want to make sure that we're lining up our seam with the seam there. And it can be helpful to iron this flat once you have that set to go. Take our stocking and flip that right side out. And again, it can be helpful to press this flat with an iron as well. Now for our hanger loop, we want to flip this right side out as well too. And this one is a little bit trickier. What you want to do here, so we have the fold, the sewed or glued edge, and the sewed or glued edge. We're going to take the tip of a pen or pencil and kind of gently pop it into the end here and then work its way over itself. And this is going to be hard to do on camera. I normally press the, like the cap end against my chest and then just kind of work it down. The trickiest part is getting it started. Let me get it started behind camera here. Here you can see I have the end of the pen stuck into the tip here, and you're just going to slowly work the hanger loop down the length of the pen, and it's going to flip itself inside out. And once that side pops out, you can grab it. And your correct side out. And if you need to pop the corners out, you can stick the pen down the end and kind of poke them out from the inside. Now it's time to assemble the final stocking. This is going to look slightly different if you're gluing versus sewing your pieces. If you're gluing, you're going to want to start by first gluing the edges of the cuff that we folded down. So just along the bottom edge here, glue all the way around the opening. Make sure you don't glue it shut like that. And then for the loop piece, you want to fold it in half, and then at the end where the two sides meet, you want to glue those two pieces together. Once you have those pieces completely dried, we're going to stick them inside of our stocking, and you'll want to decide which way you want your stocking to hang, with the toe to the left or the toe to the right. And what we're going to do is insert our cuff into the stocking. Now the folded edge is going to go down into the stocking, while our raw edges are going to be up near the top by the raw edges of the stocking. And you're going to want to align the back seam here where you glued the fabric to line with the back edge or the heel edge of the stocking seam. And then you'll have your hanger loop, again with the two ends, with the raw side will be up towards the top, and the loop part will go down into the bottom. Since our stocking is going to face that direction, we're going to paste the loop at the back heel side of the stocking, and it's going to go on the back side of the stocking, so that when it hangs on the wall, which is this side right here, the loop is on the back of the stocking. And you'll slide that down in there. And what you want to do is then you're going to have to glue these layers. So you'll glue your loop down, you'll glue the cuff all the way around the outside edge here, again making sure not to glue it completely shut. Now let's look at the steps for sewing. We're going to pull that loop out. We're still going to slide our cuff down in here, and we're going to start sewing from the front edge. So I want my stocking personally to hang toe to the left. So I'm going to start at the back edge of my stocking, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew around the front, come back around the back, but before I get to the final back edge here, I'm going to then slip my loop down in there, just like we covered in the same way if we were gluing it, and then do that final sewing. And when I'm doing that sewing, I'm probably going to go back and forth across the hanger piece a couple of times just to make sure it's extra secure. Once you finish sewing around the cuff, it's time to fold it out and see your finished results. So we're just going to take and plop this out, fold it over the top, out comes our loop, straighten it out. If you need to iron down the fold, you can surely do that. But there is our finished stocking. And as you can see, the hanging loop is on the back of the stocking, so it'll hang on the mantle or your hook very nicely, and you're ready to stuff it. And that's our finished tutorial. I hope this was simple and easy for you guys to follow, and I hope everyone has a happy holidays. We'll see you back here next week.